Welcome back. Well, today I am joined by Cynthia Connors, who's here on behalf of Laguna Woods Council. And then we have Jeff Bott, who is with TCA. Now, welcome both of you. I really appreciate you being here to talk to us about the toll roads.
Well, thanks, Lisa. And thanks for bringing us here so we can tell our villagers a little bit about the roads and how they were built and how they operate and why they're not freeways. These toll roads are really a direct result of local action. All the city councils and the county supervisors who wanted to plan for improved transportation because we already had serious congestion and our population was exploding. Back in 1981, the Orange County population was 2 million, and now it's like 3.1 million. So certainly those extra roads were necessary. And our state and federal funding had dried up. So they tried something innovative because toll roads were big on the East Coast, but had never been done in California. And that's why we always called ours freeways, to distinguish them from toll roads. And each city in the area of impact of these roads has a voice in how they are run. And they were established by community leaders, and now they're operated by community leaders. And I'm the representative from Laguna Woods. Mm-hmm. Each affected city has a city council member on the boards, and the county supervisors have 3 representatives on the boards.
Okay.
The slide shows that our toll roads comprise 20% of Orange County's total freeway, highway roads. And 20% is a lot. And if here in Laguna Woods, we think about the traffic on Interstate 5 and on Moulton Parkway that runs right through the middle of our city. And if there were 20% more traffic, it would certainly affect us, not just in the speed of traffic, but in the air pollution and the stop and go, et cetera.
Right.
Back in the day, in 1981, the roads were not originally planned as toll roads. They had planned to build them as regular freeways, but the state funding dried up and the federal highway system was enough built out, there were no more federal funds. So this was really innovative and risky at the time. This was our plan B, and they didn't really know whether Californians would pay to drive on toll roads that were actually parallel to the main roads. But they moved forward with the experiment, and in 1986, the state legislature enacted a statute which established the toll road authorities and the transportation corridor agencies and enabled us to have a revenue source of tolls and developer impact fees to pay them off. So we issued bonds, which were non-recourse bonds. That is, the taxpayers were not on the hook for these bonds. The investors were taking kind of a risk because there were no roads, there were no revenues, there was no infrastructure, there was no organizing board, and we issued the bonds and they said, well, this is pretty risky. We're going to charge pretty good interest rate in order to give you this money. And in the last 30 years, the boards and the roads have been very successful, and our bonds are now investment grade. And we've refinanced several times to get a lower interest rate. So it's really a success story. And it's still relevant now because we're still needing more transportation improvements here in South Orange County.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then, that's really good information to know, because I have a feeling people are always saying, oh my gosh, they charge too much for a toll, but they're not realizing exactly where that money is going back. So that's really good information to know that it actually has been successful and it is being invested. So does that mean that you eventually will use whatever profits that you have now towards investing in new toll roads?
We don't expect to build any more toll roads, but we do expect to be continually involved in improving transportation in South Orange County.
Okay, that's awesome. Jeff, let's have you kind of catch us up on where TCA is today.
So Cynthia pointed out that TCA really is a success story, and it really is. It's not really the story of the toll road agency. It is a story of local control, elected officials coming together and coming up with the plan B. And it was thought of as an experiment at the time. all the toll roads were back east. But flash forward today, it looks like the experiment worked out. We have 1.8 million fast track accounts. We developed the fast track technology a few decades ago that is now used with all tolling authorities in the state of California. So we have interoperability agreements. So you can literally use your fast track on any tolled lane or bridge in the entire state of California. We have about 350,000 trips a day that are on the toll roads. That's pre-COVID, of course. As Cynthia mentioned, that are taken off of local roads and freeways. Prior to COVID, we had nearly 1,000 signups a day for toll road accounts, and now it's about 700 or 800, so that's still pretty good. Our finances are very strong. We were fortunate to have an A- credit rating, strong reserves. We're a public entity, a government agency, and we actually paid off our unfunded pension liability a couple years ago and saved the agency millions of dollars. It's not often you hear of a city or any government entity that pays off its unfunded pension liability. That's usually a city or government entity's biggest challenge. So and I did want to mention also, a lot of people think that when the toll roads are paid off, that's when they get transferred to the state. And I did want to mention that they are literally turned over to the state of California the day they open to traffic, not when they're paid off. So TCA does not own the roads. We manage them, we built them, we continue to do improvements, we collect the tolls and pay off the debt, but they are actually part of the state highway system maintained by Caltrans, and unfortunately, as some of us have experienced, are patrolled by the CHP. But the real success story is the state failed to deliver the needed infrastructure for this county. We're over 3 million people now, as Cynthia mentioned. So we did it ourselves and literally transferred the roads to the state of California. We provided the state of California with about $12 billion worth of new infrastructure over the past 30 years that otherwise couldn't have been built.
Jeff, I just want to interject here that the question is what happens after the bonds are paid off? And if we retain local control and the toll road authority continues to collect the revenues and spend them here in South Orange County, that's a good thing for our residents. And I firmly believe that if Caltrans was operating the toll roads and collecting the revenues, they would find other places where they thought these revenues were better used. And that might be better used, but not better used for our residents.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you there. In fact, you know, many times we do see on our ballots where you have, oh yeah, we're going to give the money back to road improvements and this and that, and you never see anything being done. Right.
Except on Interstate 5 now.
I'm sorry?
Except right now on Interstate 5.
Well, that seems to be an ongoing project that never will go away. You know, since you mentioned Laguna Woods, let's talk a little bit about, you know, how our seniors are benefiting from the toll roads today.
Well, we do quite a bit of outreach in Laguna Woods, and we have for a number of years, going all the way back to the mid-2000s when we rolled out our all electronic tolling. When we took down the toll booths, we wanted to make sure we educated the public and all the different segments of the population, because people that didn't have fast track accounts were so used to stopping by and paying a toll. What about people who are infrequent users? We have a lot of people in Laguna Woods that have people visiting them from places far away. You know, what if they're on the toll road and they're driving it and there's no more toll booths? What do they do? So we did a lot of Orange County Senior Days there, Senior Summit. We had a speakers bureau there, spoke to the local Rotaries, Kiwanis, Exchange Clubs, had booths at events in Laguna Woods and also the surrounding senior centers. And we learned that people in Laguna Woods take the toll roads. They have 5,400 TCA toll road accounts in Laguna Woods. And I think my favorite thing about doing outreach in Laguna Woods was the stories that people would tell me at the booth about a grandchild visiting them from far away or a parent. Things I didn't even think about, like a caregiver who lived far away who took the toll roads to get to them, places they would go to take the toll roads, and some very nice comments like how pretty the 73 is and how fun and how beautiful it is to drive. It was really quite nice to do outreach in Laguna Woods.
Whenever I have anybody from out of town visiting me, I just go online and add their license plate to my account and tell them, go ahead and drive the toll roads. And that's kind of a part of my hospitality, and it makes it very easy for them.
Yeah, exactly. I do like the change that they made there where you don't have to, you have the accounts rather than having the money. Although I do thought it was I did think it was kind of nice when I had to stop and say hi to those people.
Yeah.
That was another comment we got most of, but I really liked my toll booth attendant. It's like,
That's kind of unusual.
That is, I mean, it's like when you drive into Laguna Woods, the gate ambassador, and you're like, hey,
yeah.
whatever his name is. So
I had people telling me that they would get in a specific line in the toll booth just so they could talk to their favorite toll booth attendant.
you need to bring the people back just to say hi.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
I was just going to say, in September of 2019, we actually had a sticker tag transponder day event in Laguna Woods where we
I was there.
invited all the seniors to come, and we put on the new sticker tags because they're such tiny little things, and we thought that was fun. And Cynthia helped us out with that. And we had a couple hundred people there. It was really fun.
We look forward to more of those days coming soon.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about the environmental commitment. And the one thing that actually comes to mind for me is because I live out off of Oso Parkway, and so you've got that big transition that just opened up not too long ago. And there was a big fight about environmental impact. And so we can talk about that later. But before we go into that, tell me a little bit about the construction and some of the protected habitat that we have.
Well, Orange County is a great place to live. And when our elected officials way back when started planning the toll roads, I mean, we're talking 51 miles of toll roads, which do comprise 20% of the county's entire highway, major thoroughfare system. They wanted to make sure that our environment was protected. The place is a great place. Orange County is a great place to live, great quality of life, and we want to make sure we protect our open spaces. So when we built the toll roads, we set aside more than 2,000 acres of permanent open space. It's forever in perpetuity. Some of them have mitigation on them. For example, we restored an entire wetland right off to 73 at the Bonita Creek. It's just a concrete flood channel. We turned it into a thriving wetland that is home to many species now. And where you live, right off of Oso Parkway, is the Upper Chiquita mitigation site. It's about 1,182 acres. And we planted coastal sage scrub there, which is home to the endangered gnatcatcher, and they've just thrived along there. So that's been one of the priorities of the agency since its inception, to protect the environment. And if you've been on the 241 towards Riverside, we have a new wildlife fence that we installed. Keeps the critters from getting on the road and people from hitting them. And so
that's great. Do you have, I mean, I'm assuming you have people that work with you, either a partner agency or something like that help you design those kinds of things?
We do. We've used consultants in the past, but we do have an in-house environmental department, a chief environmental officer, and staff, and they do a fantastic job. They're just really great at their job, and they all love the environment and all of our mitigation sites. It's really a labor of love, and we go to those places often. So.
Now Cynthia, you did mention earlier about COVID impacts and how some of it may or may not have taken a toll. What do you feel has changed because of COVID?
Well, we were fortunate. When COVID first struck, we had just appointed a new CEO, and Samuel Johnson is an exceptional hire from within, and has been the president of the, bet you didn't know there was such a thing, the International Bridge, Tunnel, and Tolling Association. But the first thing we did, of course, was take care of our workforce, and people began working remotely. And the second thing we did was to take care of our customers, and we upgraded our phone tree system and our internet and app system so more and more things could be done. And people didn't have to come into our centers to do any of the things, like I mentioned, to add a new license plate to your car. We deferred some capital projects. We brought some of our things that had been contracted out in-house at a significant financial savings. And our toll revenues were down substantially, between 40% or thereabouts for the first few months. And then they began rising, and now they're not back to where they were. But we were able to live within our new COVID budget through real careful planning and good oversight, probably because of fresh eyes from the new CEO.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jeff, would you have some comments about COVID?
It's definitely been a challenging time. I always tell people how challenging it is, when your competition is the freeway and your facility is adjacent to that freeway and people have a choice to take that and you have to pay for that choice. And suddenly that competition has no traffic on it because they were typically some of the most congested freeways in the nation. It was a pretty easy choice. I mean, like I said, 350,000 trips a day were chosen to be taken on the toll roads, and suddenly your competition's none. So thanks to our leadership on our great boards and our new CEO, we definitely trimmed the savings about 51% and about $77 million in expenses. And that kept the credit rating good and our revenues good. No one at TCA lost their jobs, and we continued with our priority projects. So it's a great story, and we're doing okay. We're doing okay still.
Good. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the current projects real quick, if we can identify. The one that I did mention was Oso Parkway Bridge project, which just recently opened. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
So that's been under construction for a couple of years. The toll road has ended at Oso Parkway for about 2 decades. It's always meant to go further, and I'll talk about that project later. But Oso Parkway Bridge connects to a brand new road out there called Los Patrones Parkway, which serves the new Rancho Mission Viejo development there, which is about 14,000 homes under construction and 5 million square feet of commercial space. And this Oso Bridge connects Los Patrones Parkway to the 241. Saves people from getting off at Oso Parkway, crossing a very busy Oso Parkway and getting back on Los Patrones, or vice versa. You literally go underneath Oso Parkway. It's a $40 million project. We financed it. Orange County Public Works constructed it. But the most important thing I want to say about this project is we did it with cash on hand and did not have to issue any new debt to build this project, thanks to our strong financial position.
Right, and that can really help, many people. They don't necessarily have to go down the 5 freeway. They can just take that back road and put you out down to San Clemente.
Yeah, that Los Patrones Parkway goes all the way to Cal Camp Road now, which is directly adjacent above Ortega Highway.
Right, and then you just hop on the other stuff and it takes you.
That saves you from that busy Antonio Parkway with all those traffic lights.
Right, and also, the 5 can get pretty congested there too.
Oh yeah.
Talk about some of the coming soon things.
So right now we're working on the 241-91 Express connector. We're going to construct a toll lane in the median of the 241 that will fly over the 91 freeway and drop into the 91 Express lanes.
Wow.
That's in the final design stage right now. We'll start construction in 2023 and probably open to traffic in 2025. If you've been on the 241 northbound in the afternoons, it backs up quite a bit for several minutes because the 91 is so congested, and this will offer drivers a choice to have another option to avoid that and take a dedicated lane that goes under the 91 Express lanes. And that's part of a $600 million infrastructure package that we're working on with Riverside Transportation Authority and also Orange County Transportation Authority. And all of these projects are in development now and will all be built in the next several years. So that's great. And another good thing with that project, this is a $250 million project that we're paying for with cash on hand and not issuing new debt on. So it's all good that you can build projects with actual cash.
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite projects, because anyone who ever drives to Palm Springs or Las Vegas or Riverside or San Bernardino knows how frustrating it can be to wait in that line. But they had to wait before building this until they had all the proper off-ramps downstream at Highway 15 and at 215 and 173. What's
the 71 interchange.
71 interchange, because they didn't want us dumping all of our 241 traffic into those express lanes, and then they're overburdened, so they had to clear out downstream first. So it was a complicated planning thing involving a number of agencies.
Right. All right. Well, thank you. That is awesome information. One thing I wanted to double check on is looking to our future real quickly. What are some of the things that you are expecting to have happen?
We can do lots of things with our current toll road system over the future. If you've been on the toll roads, you notice they were built from the outside in with room in the median for future lane widenings or anything else you'd like to do in there over the next several years. Also, right now, the 241 board, the Foothill Eastern, is working on doing some bond refunding, which will save the agency $210 million without extending the bond maturity date. That's great. And we're also working with other transportation agencies on potential regional transportation partnerships for future projects like we're doing right now with the Riverside and Orange County Transportation Authority with the 24191 Express connector.
Excellent. Cynthia, any final words?
Yeah, I just want to point out that this is just really a success story involving local control, local cities and our county working to get this established, working to operate it, working to improve transportation for the folks of South Orange County. And I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Well, that's awesome. Not to mention jobs too. So that's a great thing too.
Always, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Lisa. It's been great.
Lisa.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And we'll be right back after this.